This is KGW News at noon.
In less than 48 hours, Joe Biden will become the next president of the United States. And this is a live look at the U.S. Capitol, where preparations are underway and security is at an all-time high. Troops are on high alert in the wake of the Capitol riot. Thank you for joining us this noon. I'm Nina Melhuff in for Brenda. You know, we saw that concern this morning when the Capitol complex was briefly locked down during an inauguration rehearsal. A fire at a homeless camp a mile away sent smoke into the air, and they evacuated out of an abundance of caution. Joe Biden was not there. NBC's Jay Gray is in D.C. with a look at the security effort.
The buildup of troops in Washington continues. More than 15,000 soldiers now posted around the Capitol and across the city, with another 10,000 expected before Wednesday's inauguration.
It is a deterrence for people who are going to do bad things. This is to keep people safe and to understand that we are here for the American people.
The show of force stretching across the country right now. State capitals continue to be on high alert after a warning from the FBI of possible protest and violence from armed right-wing extremists.
Hopefully it will be peaceful, and then hopefully people will go home. But we just need people maybe to take a deep breath.
The country still trying to catch its breath after the deadly attack on the Capitol complex.
We never believed that so-called patriots would attempt to overthrow their government and kill police officers, but that's exactly what happened.
Security teams remain in place to make sure it doesn't happen again. Now, this security presence is expected to stay in place in some form, not only here but across the country, well after Wednesday's inauguration. Jay Gray, NBC News, Washington.
So with just 2 full days left in his term, President Trump is expected to pardon more than 100 people. The list includes white-collar criminals and high-profile rappers. President Trump won't be at the inauguration on Wednesday. He's set to leave the White House early that morning. He'll make a speech in a farewell event at Joint Base Andrews before boarding Air Force One for the final time, bound for Florida. Turning now to the coronavirus and the growing frustration with the rollout of the vaccine. People nationwide are having a hard time just getting one vaccine, while others are not getting their critical second dose. And now in California, a scare involving a large number of vaccines. NBC's Kerry Sanders has the latest.
Overnight, California reaching an unwanted milestone, becoming the first state to pass 3 million COVID cases. Health officials there are investigating a large batch of Moderna vaccines after a higher than usual number of severe allergic reactions at a San Diego clinic.
The second I said something about my ear, they all sprung into action. They grabbed an EpiPen and they took me from the area where I was sitting at onto a gurney.
330,000 doses of those vaccines have already been distributed to nearly 300 providers statewide, who are now being asked to delay using the shots. Meanwhile, the nation's demand for the COVID vaccine unrelenting, while distribution of the highly sought-after shot is falling far short.
We stand very, very vulnerable, and the state is supposed to be helping us.
Much of the anger directed at the Trump administration's failure to provide the stockpiles of vaccines it promised.
The fact that we've underdelivered to so many states on this second dose is deeply concerning.
And frustrating.
It is a total cluster.
In Florida, the Department of Health says more than 40,000 people who received their first vaccine dose failed to show up for the second.
Your fear for those who skip the second dose?
There's no ability to be flexible with that. There's no ability to be the exception to that rule here. You need to get that second dose.
By Inauguration Day, the COVID death toll could reach 400,000. At the current rate, health officials fear we could reach 500,000 deaths by February. President-elect Biden promising 100 million doses in his first 100 days.
The feasibility of his goal is absolutely clear. There's no doubt about that can be done.
Oregon not getting as much of the vaccine as the state initially thought, and that is changing its distribution plan. Governor Kate Brown lashed out at the Trump administration last week, saying it promised to send out doses that had been kept in reserve. That made Oregon leaders think the state would get an extra 200,000 doses. Then the governor learned there is no reserve. It was all sent out 2 weeks ago.
I am shocked and appalled that the federal government would set an expectation with the American people on which they knew they could not deliver with such grave consequences.
Originally, Oregon planned to start vaccinating teachers and seniors on January 25th. But now with fewer doses available, only teachers and school workers will be eligible on the 25th. After teachers get their shots, people 80 and older can get vaccinated on February 8th, 75-year-olds on February 15th, 70-year-olds on February 22nd, and 65-year-olds on March 1st. We don't know yet where you could get these shots, but we're working on getting you some answers this week. Many of you have been wondering about Washington's vaccine plan. Health officials say despite news they won't get extra doses from the feds, they're moving ahead with the next group eligible, and seniors will go before teachers in Washington. The next phase is people 70 and older. Washington officials are not giving an exact date when the shots will start, but say it should happen in the coming days. Well, today, University of Portland students are moving their things back on campus for a new hybrid model of learning, but with restrictions. That's because a staff member tested positive for the new variant of COVID-19. It's a strain that spreads faster, but is no more dangerous than the ones we've been seeing. This person did not travel, so that most likely means the variant has been spreading throughout Oregon. The university says testing caught it early, and that person is isolated and not showing symptoms. Others who came in close contact are quarantining. No students are part of that group. But 800 students will come back to campus today. Hybrid learning for all 4,000 is set to start in a week.
And I think moving forward with them, kind of with the extensive testing that they're doing, the hybrid models, are designed to keep people safe from both this typical and new variant.
So all students will need a negative COVID test before moving into the residence halls. COVID tests will also be given throughout the year, and buildings and classrooms will be cleaned and disinfected every night after use.